Welcome tonight. This is the Cache Valley Homeschool Support Group, and this is our second meeting. We're planning to meet every fourth Thursday here at 7:30 to 9, and the format for today is we're going to talk about for an hour how to start homeschooling, or like what you would want to know about beginning. And we kind of decided to narrow that even down farther to what happens when you pull your kids out of public school. So our two presenters, Kellyanne and Ashley, are going to talk about pulling your kids out of public school and then what next.
Okay, Jessica's here. Oh, cool. Awesome. Okay, so I'm Kellyanne. I have been homeschooling for 5 years now. My kids were all in public school. I had no intentions of ever homeschooling because that was not me. So I thought. Until my oldest, this is my journey. My oldest, she's 19 now. She's never been a great student academically. She struggled forever, the poor girl. Middle school was extremely rough. They should just outlaw middle school, is my opinion. She really, really struggled, and her freshman year in high school, sorry, this part might get me really emotional. She was going into a very dark place, and her self-esteem was plummeting. And this is the spiritual side of my journey. The Spirit kept telling me I'm going to lose her if I don't pull her out and do something different, because she's not okay. And so I finally succumbed to that and said, okay, I'm going to do this. I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. It scares me to death because I am not a homeschool mom. And called a friend of mine who was and has been their whole raising their kids, and said, okay, tell me what this really actually involves, because in my mind there's always been those stigmas against homeschool kids, and I don't want my kids to be the weird kids, unfortunately, that is out there. But I said, I'm not smart enough to do it. I don't know all the subjects. I don't know all the grade levels. I'm pretty sure I barely passed my own education, let alone trying to teach my children. So she walked me through a lot of things and helped me calm a lot of my fears and misconceptions. And I pulled my daughter. Now, she still did dual enrollment. She did a couple of the electives at the high school, but all of her core subjects that really mattered, I guess, I don't know if you want to call it that, but we did at home. And that first year was just her. I have 5 children. That first year was her. I felt very strongly I needed to be able to focus completely on her, to get her out of that dark place that she was headed, and help her find her light again, discover her own worth, and that it was not tied to F's and D's, and that she was more than those letter grades. And so our first year was a lot of trial and error. We tried stuff, and if it didn't work, we put it to the side and we tried something new. And it was a lot of, we're just gonna see what works. I had no idea what it actually was gonna look like for our family. So it was a lot of readjusting, trying it for a while, readjusting, reevaluating, a lot of that. And then the second year I brought my son home, who was going into middle school, because like I said, we're not doing that again. And so the second year I had my two oldest children. And then I had put my preschooler in preschool, but I had 2 in between. And so then COVID hit, and we were all homeschooling. I just said, welcome to our class. So they homeschooled on public school during COVID and stuff. And then the 2 that were still in elementary school really wanted to go back. I did not want them to. I felt very strongly at that point, and my husband was on board at that point because he saw the benefits. He was leery. I shouldn't say he wasn't on board. He was leery of my ability to make it work. Boy, that's a vote of confidence. He was nervous about how that was actually going to look for our family if I brought all 5 of them home at once, which I totally agreed with, because I didn't know if my mental stability would handle all 5 kids all suddenly at home in grades, I don't know, little from to high school. So I gradually did that. When schools opened back up after COVID, my 2 elementary kids decided they wanted to go back. I did not want them to. My husband said, just send them back, it'll be fine. During that year, that first part of the year, I redid our schoolroom and made a desk for them because I knew that they would come home and we would all be homeschooling at some point. So I got ready during that time, got the curriculums that I needed to in place. And then in December, when they both came home and said, we're done, we do not want to homeschool anymore, I said, great, here's your desk. And then from then on, I've been homeschooling all 5 of my kids. So it was a process for me. It was an adjustment coming out of public school, getting out of that mindset of we have to sit at the desks from this time to this time. We have to do this. And there's still times where I'm like, oh, stop it. We homeschool for a reason so that we can have flexibility and choice of whatever we want to study and things like that. So I'm trying to think of what else I would want to say about it. So it was an adjustment. There was a process to de-school. You'll probably hear that phrase, de-school. You have to get out of the mindset of public schooling at home and homeschooling, how your children learn, how you see fit. Doing faith-based curriculums are very, very important to me. And when my 2 elementary kids first came home and we mentioned God in one of the lessons, they're like, Mom, you can't say that. Like, actually, I can, because I don't follow their curriculum. So that was really cool. That's important for me to have that aspect in our homeschooling. My kids, now that they've gotten their mindset changed, love that we incorporate religion into our schooling. So that's kind of our journey of how we've done it. And I'm trying to think of what else. I don't follow state standards typically. I do grade level stuff, but I don't necessarily follow state standards because I don't necessarily agree with all the state standards. So that's my opinion. Do you want me to open it up to questions now or let Ashley?
Yeah.
Ashley talk first. And then,
Well,
or do you have anything else you want me to talk about?
Well, how did your kids do? And
that's funny.
Like your oldest and your second oldest, primarily, like how well did they transition into homeschool, or like?
Actually, those 2 did really, really well. It's my 4th one who is my social butterfly, Pepper. Jessica's probably she knows Pepper, and so does Ariel. She is my social butterfly. She loves everybody. She collects friends wherever she goes. So not being at public school every day with her friends, it was really, really hard for her. That was the thing that she struggled with the most coming home. But when I asked her about it today, I said, so how do you feel about it now? She goes, that was the best decision ever, because I have gone to different classes. I've been able to meet different people that homeschool, and they're more genuine. They're kinder. They accept her for who she is and not look at her like she's some weirdo because she loves books. She loves books. And she got teased a lot because she loved books, and that she's a very outgoing personality. And so she got teased a lot. And now she's been able to make new friends that are more genuine, that love her for who she is, that she's connecting better with, and I feel like will be longer lasting friendships. And there's a lot less cattiness. Oh my gosh. There was major issues with her and some of the girls at public school. So I was really grateful to leave those behind when she decided to come home. So I feel like the opportunities for them have been opened up a little bit more. They really can explore. Ariel teaches an ASL class that Pepper is taking, and she wouldn't necessarily get that in elementary school. So I feel like there's a lot of different opportunities that aren't necessarily offered at public schools. But all of my kids have adjusted pretty well because we've been really open about talking about the changes and the differences between public school and homeschool and the whys behind why we have chosen as a family to do that. And they've been a lot more accepting of the decision to homeschool because, like I said, I was never going to homeschool. That was just not in my cards. But it has been a tremendous blessing for our family, and I can see the benefits that have way outweighed what we would have gotten at public school. So that's our experience. Yeah.
Sorry, can I
You're fine.
Just something about Pepper. How old was she when you took her out of public school?
4th grade.
Okay.
So she's 6th grade now. So she's asking how long it took for my daughter to get used to not having the parties at school and hearing about all of the social get-togethers and parties and the fun things that are happening at school. And she did miss out on those things. I've tried to make it as fun as I can for her and doing fun things at home, but there's amazing women that have, I think, way more time than I do or brain power to keep track of stuff that organize social events. There's the Valentine a Valentine exchange at the Jump Zone that people can come and participate in. There's different things like that are put on that you can choose or not choose to go and participate in that give them an opportunity to see other homeschool kids and kind of connect with them. The challenge is though that it's the whole valley. And so they may connect with somebody. I'm in Nibley, and my kids have connected with people up in Preston that have come down. I'm like, oh, probably not going to plan a play date with them. Sorry. So it definitely takes a little bit more work on your part to participate in or organize or find out what things are going on. But there are definitely things out there. I feel like we have a very large homeschool community in Cache Valley, and there's a lot to participate in. And so I don't feel like at this point, she doesn't feel like she's missing out on anything. So she's been, let's see, 4th grade. So it's been 2 years. And it was, for her to adjust, it was maybe the rest of that year. And then by the time the next year came, we were all in that mindset, and it was just like, well, this is the way it is now. And so it wasn't, well, I missed this. Every once in a while, my Tiger, who's 14, who was in 6th grade when we pulled him, and so now he's 8th grade, he misses that probably a little bit more than she does. But again, we do a lot of stuff. He more misses his friends that he just doesn't get to see anymore that he was good friends with at school. It's not necessarily the parties or the social things. So did that answer your question? Okay.
So how did you
nice.
legitimately
pull your kid out? The only thing you really have to do is fill out an affidavit that you just print out from the Cache County website. Are you Cache County or Logan County? I would assume have it too. You just go on there, print the affidavit, fill it out, have it notarized, and send it to the district, and you're done. Your kids are done. So it's really easy.
I'm Ashley Wilkins. I have littles also. So my oldest is finishing kindergarten this year. And so when I was looking, I also was like, I'm never homeschooling. Like, school's great. I get a break from my kid. It's going to be great because all my kids, I've got a 5-year-old and then a 2-month-old. And there's 4 of them. So I've got lots of littles. And I'm like, a break? Who doesn't want a break, right? So, but then I think it was my aunt, she homeschools, and she was like, nobody's going to love your kid more than you and want the best for them. Sorry. More than you are. And so I was like, oh, now I'm like like, I gotta look into it. So then I looked into it, and I've loved it. And I'm never, well, can't say never, I will let them choose, because if they want to, they can. But I will always encourage them to homeschool. So pulling them out, I actually printed it. It's super easy to do it. If someone wants this, they can have it, because I've already filled one out. So this is what the affidavit looks like. You just write your kid's name, their birthday, what school they're supposed to go to, and then you can print it out and mail it, like go get it notarized and mail it in. Or if you call the school district, it's not on here, but if you call the school district, they'll have a notary on site, and they have these papers printed in their office. So if you call them and they're like, hey, is your notary there? They'll be like, yeah, they're here till 4:30 today. You're like, okay, great, I'm coming in right now. So you can go in and fill it out there and have it notarized and just be done. Kindergarten's an optional grade. It's like, yeah, it's like a preschool kind of. So, and that's like, I live in Nibley, and their kindergarten's 2 hours long. So my preschooler was in preschool longer than my kindergartner would have been in kindergarten. And I was like, that's not a break. So, and then that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna look into homeschooling. And the best advice I have for anybody who's looking into homeschooling or who currently is homeschooling, if there's anything you don't feel like confident in teaching or comfortable in or anything like that, just like hire it out. The community has so many different things, and they're all, I feel like, reasonably affordable. Like nothing has been like crazy expensive. And just hire it out. Like if your kid was in public school and they struggled with math, you would hire them a tutor. So if you don't feel comfortable teaching your child math, hire them a tutor. And then you don't have to worry about it. You just send them to their math class, and then they come home and you get to do all the other fun things with them. And you will have a great, successful homeschooling experience. If you don't feel comfortable, just hire out, ask questions, and it's been a good year, I think. So that's been my experience. I don't have nearly the years that she does.
Well, I don't have nearly the years that she does. I was going to say with the affidavit, you only have to do that once.
Oh, yeah.
And then the county keeps that on record, and they will remail you every year a current yearly statement saying that your kids are homeschooled and that you are responsible for their education, and that basically the county, the district takes no responsibility.
So when you added extra children on,
I had to fill out a new one for extra children. But if you have all your children on that initial first one that you do, then they're all covered for every year until you change something with the district. I actually have a neighbor that is doing a hybrid with the dual immersion program. She fought hard though to get that. So I think it's a little bit trickier with elementary school, but middle school and high school, I have not done middle school just because I'm trying to avoid that place. But I have the high school with my two oldest, and my third one will be going next year, and I'm registering him right now for electives.
So with that, do you still fill out like that affidavit because they're half and
yes, because they're not full time.
Gotcha.
Because I am responsible for the majority of their education, and the district is not. So I did fill it out, even though they are part-timing at the high school. I was still required to do that. So, and it just covers my butt, so I don't have to worry too much about it.
do you know what school, the dual immersion, your friend that did that, what school her kids go
It's
to?
Heritage Elementary, yeah. To be honest, I don't think they liked it very much. Yeah, she really had to fight. She went to the district.
She probably
and
had
got-
to get in there.
She got
It's
some
a
big
lottery.
head people.
She probably had to be in public school first.
She was already in public school and was struggling with other parts of it. The dual immersion was fine. She's a little above average, above grade level, and so the other stuff was way too easy. She was getting way too bored, and so she's like, let me just do that stuff on my own. You do the Spanish with her. But she fought really hard to get that accommodation. I don't think that's typically given.
I know the state just passed legislation about funding. Do you guys know?
It's the House Bill 331.
Yep. Especially with I'm like thinking the hybrid.
They've really given a lot of
latitude for parents. So I actually just had it pulled up on my phone. The funding that the state will offer to parents is anywhere between $3,000 and $8,000 depending on your household income. It's called the Hope Scholarship is what you'll have to look for. The last time I looked at it, they didn't have anything like up and running for applications, but you should be aware that it is coming. The other thing that is unique is that within that bill, there is no restriction on religious curriculum. So the good and the beautiful would be approved. Any type of religious curriculum, they have not put that restriction within that bill. So
That's very nice.
yeah.
It is first come, first served though. So
And it-
March
it-
1st next year.
It won't start this fall. It would begin a year from fall as far as people who could apply for that scholarship. But it's limited the first year to 5,000 applicants or if they got the full amount. It's income based. Yeah. Well, those are both on the same.
Is it the same time?
Basically. Yeah, so you may or may not be able to qualify for that funding the first year, but I mean, depending on how the legislature rules, it could be expanded to include as many kids as want to do it. I don't know.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to say, you mentioned that if you don't know what to teach, to find people. There are a lot, and that was my issue, is I don't know everything to teach my children. There are so many curriculums out there. It's overwhelming. Oh, it's overwhelming. But there are some that are open and go, which is how the good and the beautiful is set up. There's other things out there that are open and go. Basically, you don't have to prepare anything. It is all laid out for you. It even has different color prints. You read this to your child. These are notes just for you. And so it's super, super easy. You don't have to spend hours a day or a week trying to prepare lessons for your kids. If that's your style, good for you. That's not my style. Yes, please. If that's your style, please share. And there are some, I did in 7th grade, Utah studies is required for the state of Utah as their social studies. If you are going through, like for Harmony Ed, we are doing that. And so for 7th grade with Tiger, last year he had to do Utah studies. And there was this mom that used to be a teacher and she put out this whole thing. I was like, sold. I'll buy that and the book and I'm good to go. So I didn't have to put together stuff. So there are things out there. There's a lot of things out there. Ask other moms. This is a great place to be asking, to look at the curriculums and stuff that are on the tables, because you can see good fits for you and your family and your kids and their learning styles. Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about local resources? So my kids, I'm not worried about like the math and
Kate.
I'm not worried about the math and the English and all those things, but my son wants to learn archery. So it's like, where do I go for those kind of resources? Another one wants to learn about botany. So it's like, those things I don't know about. So how, you're talking about finding people, but it's like, since never homeschooling in this sense, how do I find those people? The people.
Best resource I would say is if you're not part of Cache Valley Homeschoolers Facebook group, get on that and just say, hey, my child is interested in archery. Is there anybody else out there? Or things like that. And there's always people that are so willing to offer advice, offer where to go. There's things in Cache Valley. YHEC is a good archery one. YH, it's Youth Hunters, YHEC, Youth Hunters Education Club, I think. But they do black powder, rifle, archery, and one more, but it might be shotgun. Well, my daughter is doing Girls in Aviation right now, and it is the students in the aviation program up at USU that are teaching it. So she's going on campus to do that, but it's through 4-H. So 4-H is a really fun resource that a USU extension is another part of that. great resource for some just fun classes that are like that, like girls in aviation. She was so excited. She's loving it. They have cooking things. They have STEM clubs, the Lego robotics type stuff. So they're a really fun one to get on their mailer because they do new stuff every single month.
So I am like straight A personality type, you know, and so I'm always like, we got to do all the things, we got to check off boxes, and so I feel like I'm having a really hard time. Like I feel like now I'm just nagging my kids more. Like I'm like, you're home all day with me, so I'm like, do your math, do your English, do your chores. I'm like, is this really a good thing for our relationship if I'm just nagging you more? Like, how do you work that out so you're building your relationship rather than nagging all day?
That's okay. So unschooling, I had to get my kids out of we all had to get out of the mindset that we were public schooling at home. And one thing that I have done with my 16-year-old, I said, I'm not concerned about you passing tests and getting a certain grade. I want you to become passionate about learning. I want you to desire to understand this stuff and learn this stuff because you're so excited about it. Like he was doing an astronomy class. I'm like, I don't care if you're passing quizzes. I don't even care if you take quizzes. I want to know what you studied because it was so cool. You can't wait to tell me. And so it's shifting your mindset rather than nagging. And there is some of that. There's definitely going to be some of that. Okay, we've got to do your lessons. Now there's a difference between my first grader and my sophomore. He can do his things on his own. I don't even have to ask him. He's really, really good about just doing his stuff. My first grader, it's like, okay, let's go do another lesson. We have to do lesson, but I just want to take a break. The other day he says, Mom, I said, where are you? He goes, I'm in my room. I just need some alone time. I'm like, dude, you've been playing all morning. It's school time. Let's go. So there's definitely that balance of let's relax and take a break because we need a brain break, and okay, we've had enough brain breaks. Let's get back to work. And so I think you're going to have to find what works for you and for your kid. Their learning style, if it's a big fight, figuring out incentives, or I found out my kids love stones and plants, and that became a huge motivator. They were earning these little pom-poms to earn money to go to the store and buy bamboo. My sister's like, you're motivating them with sticks and rocks? What the world? I know it worked, but you know, that's what they were loving. And so it worked to get them motivated to doing lessons, doing their jobs, doing whatever I needed them to do to earn a stick and a rock, bamboos and crystals. But
I think a big part of that too is like having the goal that like they should be learning through life. So just being a lifelong learner. And so some days school is learning how to pick up toys for my kids, right? Like I've got a 5-year-old and a 4-year-old. We're learning to pick up toys. And sometimes that's all the school we get done that day because it took all day to pick up 5 toys. And that's okay. Some days cooking dinner is what we did for school because you learn numbers, you learn how to just talk and communicate, and they're learning, right? Like, and so it is hard. Like, I still have to teach my kindergartner how to read. Like, that's still a life skill there, right? So we have to sit down, and we both have to take a deep breath, and we're like, okay, we're gonna get through this. It'll take 30 minutes. Just give me 30 minutes. And then you just kind of keep going, and it's hard. It is hard to like have to be like, okay, you have to do your chores today too, though. Like, don't forget about that. But sometimes doing your chore can be school because it's a life skill that they're learning, and you can make it fun. Like we throw our toys, not all of our toys, but like the balls, we set out bins and we just throw the balls, and we count them, we name colors. I'm like, okay, all the red balls go over here and all the blue ones go over here. Like we just kind of, and that's what we did for school yesterday, was we sorted toys. So just kind of doing things like that.
How new are you to homeschooling?
This is my first year, so I've been doing it all year. But
Okay. It will come. It's a process. Have you did you pull them out of public school then?
Mm-hmm.
What are
Yeah,
their
I'm a
ages?
First and second grader.
Okay. It's a process of getting used to that routine at home, because it's different than public school, and it's different than what home looked like during public school. So it is an adjustment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to suggest a tip. This is my first year also, but I have a second and a fourth grader. And we just kind of started out and we would just like let the day flow and everything. And I just felt like the naggiest ornery teacher mom all day. So I said, school is from like anytime, when you wake up, and then you have till noon to get your schoolwork done. I'm teacher mom until noon, and then I'm just mom. And I had to set that boundary because I was feeling like I was nagging all the time, and I was the teacher, and I was like, did you do your work? Did you do this? I don't even talk about it after 12, like unless they want to talk about it. But I don't want to sit and nag my kids all day. And that helped to set a time limit, like 12, school's done, over, we move on with our day.
Like Cinderella the pumpkin.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so I have a 5-year-old too, and he's in kindergarten, but it's like we practice, like he does so good with his numbers and everything because we can do it with blocks, and then he can write down the answer. He'll be like 1, 2, 3. Oh, right, that's the answer. But with reading and writing, oh my gosh, I swear, it's like trying to pull teeth to get him to write and sit down and do it, and I'm like going crazy. And like he'll sit down and read to me, but it will last maybe like 3 to 5 minutes, and then he'll be like, I don't know the words anymore, and he'll just walk away. And I'm like, you didn't just, like, you read like 3 pages to me already, just finish the book. And he's like, no, I can't. And so I'm like, I'm this close. And it's starting to make me like worry. I'm like, am I cut out to like homeschool him? Because I'm really worried about sending him to public school just with everything going on. It makes me anxious, but yeah.
So, reading and writing, I use the good and the beautiful for both of those.
They have a really fun little writing book for kindergartners, and they get to like color pictures and like trace things, and that's my kid's favorite book. Like he's almost done. I'm like, no, you can't do that today. Like now it's a reward, because he was like that. And reading was the same way. He still is like, I don't know this word anymore. And I was like, you just read it to me. Like it's the word it's on every page. Like, what do you mean you don't know it anymore? And so sometimes you're just like, when they say they're done, you just kind of grunt and grind your teeth and just kind of go, okay, we'll come back to this. Sometimes back is the next day. Sometimes they just need a 5-minute break to run around and release energy. But the good and the beautiful has really good. They have cute little stories for them to read that are only like 6 pages long. So that takes 5 minutes maybe. And so that's what I do. And those have helped my kid too, because my kid was like, I'm not writing anything. Like he wouldn't even write his own name. And I was like, you have to, like, come on. So those are what I use.
There's a comment right here. Comment or question.
Comment. So I haven't started homeschooling yet, but I was a quote unquote assistant teacher for my sister-in-law when she was pregnant with her last kid and had a really rough pregnancy. But something that helped a lot for when I was, teaching my nieces was that sometimes they're just, you have to remember that sometimes our expectations for what they should be able to do are things that we've learned from public school of they have to be reaching these milestones by this certain point. And so reading 3 to 5 minutes, that sounds great for a 5-year-old. Like, that's awesome. And that might be better there might be longer reading times for other 5-year-olds, and there might be shorter reading times. There might be no reading at all from a 5-year-old. But it's really, that's the beauty of homeschooling, is it's so personalized for each child and what they need. So don't beat yourself up for 3 to 5 minutes. That sounds great. My kid will look at a letter in his little writing book right now, and he's 4, and he'll go, no. And I'm like, it's the letter O. You know how to write, you know how to draw a circle. And he'll just be like, no, I'm done.
And compromise, maybe let him read 1 or 2 pages and then you read 1 or 2 pages. Trade off, take turns and try to make it a game and make it fun and things like that. We had my youngest. That was a journey. And we're still working on it. He's technically 1st grade and we're still working on learning how to read. I mean, we're technically on kindergarten level, and his mindset was, I have 4 older brothers and sisters, what do I need to know how to read for? They do it all for me, so I don't need to. And I'm like, dude, you really do need to learn how to read, so let's get on this process. And it has been a process, for sure, and we're still working on it. But I'm not overly concerned because I know he's making progress. I don't have teachers hounding me. He's not on level. He's not on level. You know what? Yeah, I know. And I don't care at this point because he's 7. We have a long time before graduation to make sure he can read. So we'll get there. And one day it'll just click and it'll be fine. Because I've seen that with some of my other children, and it will be okay. And they'll catch up and be fine. Now I can't get him out of a book. You didn't have another?
I'm good.
Okay, sorry. Yes.
We're still deciding if we want. But what I do with my kids is I take them to the eye and I say pick 3 to 4 books that they want to read, and they get really excited later. Like they clean it up, and because they pick it, they come more excited of reading it because they want it. So it's something that we do with our kids, and they pick sometimes college books, and I don't care. It's as long as they pick something and they're excited about it and they read like one paragraph, it's fine. But I think that's kind of what can help the kids to get more motivated to read something that they want or they pick it.
And that's one thing I found with my older kids was with my daughter, she was told at Ridgeline she couldn't take botany until her junior year. Well, when we started homeschooling her sophomore year, guess what she took for science? Botany, because she could. Because we homeschool. So that was awesome.